Students will not be able to vote on campus in this federal election. Elections Canada decided to ice its vote on campus program because of the pandemic. Instead, it's working with different organizations to make students aware of what their options would be. So will the change affect how many people turn out to vote? Samantha Reusch is Executive Director of Apathy is Boring. It's a nonpartisan organization that works to educate young voters and get them involved in politics. And the organization is also one of Election Canada's partners, and Samantha joins me from Montreal. So it's a bit of a challenge, obviously, for you this time around, Samantha. Just tell us a bit about how crucial the Vote on Campus program has been in getting out the youth vote.
Well, the on-campus polling program is actually a relatively recent program, and it was designed to address a large barrier that the youngest voting age cohort, mostly students, face, which is moving away for school or changing addresses frequently. So that can cause confusion around where they can or should vote when a federal election comes around. And effectively what it did is it allowed students to make use of special polling stations on campus prior to the election day. And those special ballots that were available at those stations just allowed them to vote in their home riding, wherever that may be. So they could cast a ballot in any of the federal ridings across the country.
So what are the options now?
So mail-in ballots effectively offer the same options to students. It is a little bit trickier because they do have to go online and register for the kit, which will then be mailed to them. And then once you've done that, you can't actually vote in any other way. But effectively, there are mail-in ballots, but also lots of other options, including advanced polling, voting on election day, and voting at a returning office or an Elections Canada office.
Is the timing especially problematic? Students are heading back to university. There are different situations in different parts of the country in terms of how post-secondary institutions are even handling pandemic, precautions. So tell me about how challenging all of that is, in addition to not having the ability to vote on campus.
Well, always starting a federal election during the summer months has its challenges. Folks are distracted. They're sort of focused on other things. But I also think it's crucial that we remember that we're also coming out of and still in this ongoing pandemic period. So the context that we're working in right now is pretty different than previous elections. I will say that in some research that we've done recently with Abacus data, that we're seeing that youth interest in Canadian politics has actually increased since 2019 by about 10 percentage points. So youth are actually hyper aware of Canadian politics right now relative to what we saw a few years ago. And I think part of that is because youth are becoming very, very aware of the role that government plays in our day-to-day lives currently.
The turnout rate fell by 3.2 percentage points in 2019. So given that, I mean, what's your expectation? Do you think you can prevent it from falling even further? I'm just curious to know how optimistic you are that with all of these challenges, you'll be able to get that vote out.
Well, our goal, of course, is to just reach as many young Canadians as possible in this relatively short writ period, and that does obviously present a challenge. But youth voter turnout had been declining since about the 1960s, and in 2015, as you know, we saw that large increase. And even though it did decline a little bit in 2019, it still remained well above the 2011 levels. So we are optimistic, and again, that statistic that I just named around sort of the focus on government and the interest in Canadian politics right now, I think ultimately the turnout numbers will reflect the ability of our leaders and candidates to be addressing the issues that are important to young Canadians and ensuring that they're speaking to actionable solutions to those issues and that young people are hearing them.
All right, we'll leave it there, and I guess we'll find out soon enough whether all those efforts bear some fruit. But Samantha, good to chat with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Kathleen.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.